everyone, it's LostDog here, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Watch Him Struggle on Devlog number 2. Yes, I know, the title is a little bit confusing, Devlog number 1. If you're returning, you would know that there was one before this one, but it was called Devlog 0. Anyways, it's your favorite dev, obviously, back with Spaghetti Code and Disaster. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and with that said, let's jump into it. First up, I decided to draw out some concepts for the player character. I grabbed some reference images and I got to sketching. It didn't take too long, not longer than maybe 3 hours to finish the whole thing. I decided I wanted him to be frail and skinny, cause, you know, he's dirt poor and doesn't get any nourishment. But he also needed a beer gut, cause he's a drinker. So he ended up with this weird looking skinny body with an enlarged gut. For a second though, I was stuck on how the face would look, but then I settled on, you guessed it, drunk. Anyhow, I was feeling pretty good about my art skills, until I realized that I had to also model this. So I brought my masterpiece into Blender, and, well, like your math teacher always says, I'm no artist, so don't judge me. However, I didn't record that first part of me trying to get a person out of nothing, out of a cube in Blender. I don't know how to do that. So, pretty much, I went to Sketchfab, emitting feet, and I found a base for it, and I put it into Blender. And I started tweaking. Wait, no, not that kind of tweaking. Fixing tweaking. After some coloring and rigging with Mixamo, I proudly named this character The Drunk. Because, well, what else do you name a character in a game about a bar? After that, I imported him into Unity and had a blast messing around with the ragdoll physics, as originally I had the idea that a person in the bar would attack the drunk if he pickpocketed them wrong or failed, and then he would, you know, ragdoll. But, as you can see, that didn't go very well. Then I gave him an IK rig, but his arm moved like it was auditioning for a horror movie? I don't know what I wrote there. Anyways, I fixed it with some hints and made a walk animation. And spoiler, it did not work. See, it just wouldn't move right whenever I coded it to move whenever he walked, so I ended up just scrapping it. It doesn't matter anyway, you're in a first-person camera, so no one's going to see the walk animation when it goes. After some struggle, I fixed some bugs from the last devlog, obviously like our pro, easy peasy. Or rather took 6 hours, but it's okay. Oh, and finally, I fixed the total money calculation and the disappearing timer label. Just had to actually, you know, write the code for it, maybe?
Another day, another migraine.
Another thing that I didn't record was me trying nav mesh for the NPCs. Now, the reason why I tried to put nav mesh on them is because originally I had the idea to have the NPCs get up and walk out, and more walk back in order to reset the money flow coming into the bar. However, that didn't work out at all. So, I just had the NPCs' money reset every 90 seconds. Problem solved. Well, not really, but we're moving on. Pause. While I'm dealing with these NPCs, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button? Like, why don't you just go down there, click the little button? Why not? Aren't you excited for the next update? Aren't you? Aren't you? Excuse me, where are my manners? Anyways, I built a temporary bar, added some chairs, some tables, and cups. I made the character have to crouch to be able to pickpocket. Oh, and I added lighting. Fancy, isn't it? Then I got rid of the left-right walk and jump animations, not sure why they were there to begin with, just like the walking animations. However, I did leave one effect just to keep the game from being in total darkness. After that, I tried to change the first pickpocketing mechanic to be a random button mashing thing where it would show like mash T, now mash R, now mash G, random button mashing. However, I couldn't figure out how to get it to work, so I just trashed the idea, because that's what we do around here. If you can't get it to work, don't do it. Then I tried working on making a new pickpocketing mechanic for when you are buzzed, which would be basically a minigame, and I had errors galore. 3 days later, I realized that it was simply an issue of the UI just blocking the raycast of looking at customer boolean. So I have this one raycast from the camera that goes out from the player, and it tells the code whether or not that the player is looking at the customer, which in this giant if statement tree I have in code is what handles all of that, and the first pickpocketing mechanic. Now that was set to false, so an entire block of code wasn't being accessed because that was set to false due to the fact that it couldn't see the customer. Unfortunate, I know, it took me 3 days to realize that. Why it was being blocked? Because I had a 3D interface on the canvas that was on the camera for the minigame. So the way I fixed this is that I took the canvas, or not the canvas, but I took the interface and I put it way outside of the actual bar itself, and I just put a new camera and I set it to active whenever the minigame was active so that you could play the minigame, and then I sent all the information back to the code whenever the minigame was done, and that's how I fixed that. Then, a new error came back, or rather, an old error that was just coming back to haunt me, I guess, but when you pickpocketed one customer, it would turn into a pickpocketing all the customers. You didn't get the money from all of the customers, but you just went around and trying to pickpocket them, and it would say, sorry, you already pickpocketed this guy, go somewhere else, basically. So there was that error again from the last devlog, from almost a whole year ago. So I have to fix that now. And that is where we leave off. Trying to fix this undead bug. Wish me luck. Thank you for sticking around for another messy devlog. Hopefully the next one I'll have stories of more success rather than disasters and days of figuring out bugs. But, with coding, that's just kind of how it is. Till then, happy coding, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell for more updates. Bye-bye.